We talked about carnivore and we talked about the fasting piece, which ties in. You mentioned there when we were talking about carnivore, the plant toxins and the fact that there are certain things that are in plants that are classically known to be healthy, whether it be, kale or spinach, a lot of different plants. How do we know if we're somebody that needs to be wary of those? And then what are the big ones that we want to look out for?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first thing is I just want everybody, both men and women, to think about when you eat a meal, you should be energized afterwards. If you're not energized after a meal, if you don't have more mental clarity, if something changed adversely in your body from that meal, then I want you to go back and look at that meal and go, what was in that didn't work for me? A lot of times it's just putting the right combination together of foods, like we don't put enough protein with every meal, we don't put enough fat with every meal. So it could be as simple as that. Now, to your question, when we're looking at oxalates and lectins, and I talked to Stephen Gundry about this, and I know you've probably had him on your show, and it is like when you write a book, you have to stay very clear and in one lane. And then there's nuance that needs to be discussed. And that's what Steven said is if you have a healthy gut, you're most likely okay with these oxalates and lectins every once in a while. You're not going to have a problem with it. But if you have an unhealthy gut, you've been on multiple rounds of antibiotics, you've been on a woman who's been on birth control for many years, steroid use, all of that is what can change the inner lining of the gut. And then when you eat an oxalate or a lectin, you're going to notice bloating. That's a big one. You're going to be constipated. That's another one. Or you're going to be exhausted. If one of those three things are happening when you eat a salad, then you've got to avoid those oxalates and lectins for a short period of time to balance the system out. Now, to your question of which one's the worst, this is where, we got kale, right? Like why is kale like everybody villainizing kale? Well, think about when you wash kale, the water beads like they don't soak in. They like stay on the outside. It's like it's waterproof. Well, what is that film on the outside of a kale leaf? And that is packed with oxalates and lectins. So if you eat kale and you get bloated, you should avoid kale. And same thing with some of the other ones like spinach. Almonds are a big one that we see in the keto movement. A lot of people are doing nuts, but raw almonds can be, or almonds in general can be an issue. But then if you do sprouted almonds, you have some enzymes in there to help you break it down. So, I think the best thing, because I know everybody wants the absolute, but what I'm trying to teach is a personalized nutritional approach. So, can you just look at how you're reacting to your food? And if you're reacting with bloating, constipation, low energy, brain fog, something in that meal didn't work.
Okay, well, let's take a step back from there and say you are somebody who is reacting to those foods, or you're unsure and you want to get back to baseline and rebuild the gut. Other than removing those foods, what's step one to rebuilding the gut?
Honestly, and I know I'm like the poster child for fasting, but I just have seen so many people heal is you want to go into those longer fasts, 21 day a week, throw a 24-hour fast in. When I did that in my clinic, I literally took all the supplements that I had ever given anybody for any kind of gut dysbiosis, and we stopped prescribing those. We stopped recommending them because we found one 24-hour fast was enough. If you could do it every week, it was enough to start to change the terrain inside the gut, get rid of the bad bacteria, and create an environment where the good bacteria could grow. Now, if you pair that post fast with three different types of foods, the polyphenol, the probiotic, and the prebiotic foods, what you've done in one day is that you have got changed the terrain inside your gut. You have gotten rid of the bad, and then you come in and you feed the good. You do one day a week like that, and your microbiome will start to change. I've seen it work for thousands of people. So to me, that's your go-to over a supplement.
Okay, let me just highlight what you said there. So we want to remove the plants that are causing the damage, take 24 hours and fast, and then replenish the gut after that with prebiotics, probiotics, and polyphenols.
That's right. That's right. And some really good ones that are low in oxalates are like olives, uh, dark chocolate, um, uh, even sauerkraut. Like every person I've ever talked to about the oxalate lectin issue says when you ferment a vegetable, you get rid of those toxins in the vegetable. So, like a classic meal that I'll have post 24-hour fast is avocado because I love it. And then I will put a cup of sauerkraut. I've got some golden sauerkraut that I love. It's got some turmeric in it. Put that in there. And then I'll put some chia seeds and hemp seeds in it. And I just look at it like I'm feeding the gut bacteria that I just created this environment. And now I'm feeding it what it might need to be able to let those good guys grow.
If you enjoyed that clip, press here for the full episode. I'll see you over there.
But what we're doing right now is we're just having women push on through every day of the month, and that's destroying her hormones. And now you've got PCOS, you've got infertility, you have mood disorders, you have menopause, perimenopause, like